Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome to another Mortal Kombat video. Now in today's history of Mortal Kombat, we will be talking about none other than the Tarkatan leader and walking death machine, Baraka. Now in order for us to talk about Baraka properly, we must go all the way back to the original continuity, as this is where he stems from, and we will be talking about the Tarkatans as a whole, as well as what makes Baraka so unique in comparison to his other brothers and sisters. So without any further ado, let's get on to talking about the history of Baraka. Now the Tarkatans themselves are actually a very interesting race. In the original timeline and continuity, the Tarkatans are in fact a result of interspecies breeding, as they themselves are ultimately the result of what happens when you crossbreed a human or an outworlder with a demon from the Netherrealm, hence the humanoid figure, but with very distinct and demonic-like features. Now at this point in time, not much is actually known about the Tarkatans' origin, only that this is where they stemmed from and that they were first sighted in Outworld. Now due to the result of their crossbreeding, Tarkatans aren't very rational individuals, being seen as rather stupid, bloodthirsty monsters that don't really understand what they are doing. Tarkatans themselves are known to go on bloody rampages for a long amount of time, but this is also what makes Baraka quite unique in comparison to his brothers and sisters. You see, whilst Baraka himself does have all the normal Tarkatan traits, he is rather intelligent, being able to communicate and function of his own free will. Because of this, he's able to strategize what's best for him as well as what's good for his people. So because of his intelligence, he would quickly rise up the ranks of his people and become their leader, and eventually this caught the ears of Shao Kahn, who was impressed by the bloodthirsty nature of the Tarkatans as well as what they were capable of under the leadership of Baraka. Now when the Tarkatans merged with Shao Kahn's army, they became a formidable force, spilling blood and waging war across the realms. And as the years passed by, the Tarkatan horde would become legendary for the mountains of bodies they would leave behind on battlefield, with Baraka understandably leading the charge, and this once again impressed Shao Kahn. So after the fall of Edenia, when Shao Kahn had captured Queen Sindel and Kitana, after Sindel took her own life, Shao decided that he wanted to create a daughter in his vision, one that would embody the physical and incredibly strong traits of an Edenian with the bloodlust and vicious nature of that of a Tarkatan. So this would eventually lead up to the birth of Melina. So in a way, Baraka and his Tarkatan horde did play a hand in her creation. Now after the Edenian invasion, not much is really known about Baraka, as he is absent during the first Mortal Kombat game, but after Shang Tsung's failure to defeat Earthrealm in the first Mortal Kombat game, this prevented Outworld from merging with Earthrealm once again. Now because of this, Shao Kahn was understandably frustrated and would not be satisfied until he got his hands on Earthrealm. So before he instigated the second tournament, he would have his Outworld warriors attack the Earthrealm defenders, with Baraka and his Tarkatan horde leading a massive attack on the Wuxi Academy. Now because of the damage they caused, as well as the fact that Outworld seemingly had Sonya Blade hostage, Earthrealm was forced to engage with Outworld in Mortal Kombat, which does bring us to Baraka's debut in Mortal Kombat 2. Now during the events of the second game, with the second tournament taking place on Outworld's home turf, Baraka himself does actively participate in the tournament, battling against Earthrealmers, but secretly behind the lines, he had been plotting alongside Melina to overthrow the Emperor, as his obsession of merging the realms together had obstructed his judgment, and thus he became reckless with what he wanted and the individuals that were killed along the way. Now unfortunately for Outworld, they definitely underestimated the strength that the Earthrealmers had, and thus they were defeated in this tournament, with Shao Kahn being defeated by the Shaolin monk Liu Kang. Now during the events of the second game, Melina was in fact seemingly killed by Kitana, so their plan would dissolve and he would remain as a general to Shao Kahn. Mortal Kombat 3. Now during the events of the third game, Shao Kahn did not take his loss to Earthrealm well, sending them back home and readying his army to invade Earthrealm. Now despite it being an invasion, it did not in fact break the rules of Mortal Kombat, and thus Shao could begin his massive assault with his Tarkatan army and death squads, dealing massive blows to Earthrealm. Baraka himself relished in this battle, as he could kill and feed whenever he wished, and he was really able to embrace his bloodlust. But unfortunately for him, his gluttony got the best of him, as he came across the Shaolin monk known as Kung Lao. Now the two would clash, with Baraka being defeated, but instead of just leaving him unconscious, Kung Lao decided to deal the finishing blow, seemingly killing the Tarkatan leader, and after Baraka's fall, Shao Kahn would follow, being defeated by Liu Kang once again. Now despite being dead, this wouldn't at all be the end for Baraka. Mortal Kombat 4. Now despite his rather severe injury in the third game, Baraka somehow survives in the fourth game game and literally staples himself back together, hence the very strange looking metal objects in the center of his body for the 4th game. I'm not actually joking. Now, after Shao Kahn's defeat, Baraka stepped away from working alongside Shao Kahn, as Baraka didn't really see Shao Kahn as a worthy master. Upon being defeated by Liu Kang, he lost an incredible amount of power, and Edenia was fighting back against him after they were freed from Outworld. So because of this, Baraka was somewhat lost with what to do, and it's here where he would be approached by the necromancer Quan Chi. Knowing that Baraka loved conquest and combat, he would give the Tarkatan the opportunity to do this, but under a higher power. As you see, between the events of the 1st and the 3rd game, the fallen elder god Shinnok had been plotting behind the lines for his inevitable return, and with Shao Kahn now weakened and Earthrealm still recovering from its previous assault, Shinnok would take this opportunity to attack all of the realms, hoping that by doing so he could extinguish all life. So Baraka would accept Quan Chi's offer. Now, although he had a new master, Baraka knew that he couldn't allow Shinnok to exterminate his race, and thus did start plotting behind his back. But much like his previous master, Shinnok would also fall to the hands of Liu Kang, meaning that at this point in time, Baraka was absent without a master, and thus he wouldn't have one for a significant amount of time, making his return in Mortal Kombat Deception. Now, between the events of the 4th game and Deception, Liu Kang and Shao Kahn are seemingly killed, as the Deadly Alliance being formed of Shang Tsung and Quan Chi are in the pursuit of gaining greater power, so their first objective was to take key players off the board, and this would lead to a massive clash with Earthrealm, with Raiden and the Earthrealm defenders being defeated. However, there was one individual that the Deadly Alliance didn't count on, and that was the Dragon King Onaga, who was plotting his return after he was poisoned by Shao Kahn. Now, when he came back, he seemingly destroyed Raiden and the Deadly Alliance and would regain his throne in Outworld. Now, at this point in time, things seemed rather bleak, as Onaga, much like Shao Kahn, was interested in merging all of the realms together, and the way he asserted his power is what gained Baraka's interest, and thus he would pledge loyalty to the Dragon King, of which the Emperor would accept. Now, during the events of Deception, Baraka was tasked the mission of freeing Mileena, who at the time had been imprisoned in Edenia. You see, Onaga wanted Mileena to put on the facade of being Princess Kitana, as she died at the hands of the Deadly Alliance and was now Onaga's puppet. By posing as Kitana, she could manipulate the Edenian forces and allow Onaga to conquer more realms at his will. However, despite this, Mileena had plans of her own, and this forced Baraka and Mileena to clash. But Mileena had set a trap for Baraka, and he was seemingly killed. However, Baraka was quite smart about this and knew that Mileena would put out a trap, so he would send another Tarkatan in his place. Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Now, though Baraka himself doesn't actually play a vital role in the conquest mode, he does appear during the massive battle of Armageddon, where he can be seen fighting Kung Lao. The battle was extremely back and forth between both sides, but there has to be one victor, one individual to absorb the power of Blaze, and unfortunately for Baraka, he isn't the one, as he does fall during this battle, where he was seemingly killed once again by Kung Lao, this time for good. Now, with Armageddon being the end of the original continuity and 9 being a soft reboot, events are altered and things are changed, and we actually learn in the reboots now that there has been some alterations and changes to the Tarkatans. Although it's not been entirely confirmed, we now know that the Tarkatans have a home, that seemingly being Tarkata. It may have in fact partially retconned their history, so they aren't the half humanoid and half demon hybrids that we've come to know, but seemingly instead just another race that exists within Outworld. However, again, I do wish to remind you, this has not been 100% confirmed, but is more so implied through Mortal Kombat 11. Now, before we get to 11, let's go to Mortal Kombat 9. Now, of course, at the end of Armageddon, where Shao Kahn had defeated Blaze and was ultimately bringing on the end of this timeline, Raiden was able to send a message to his past self in order to prevent these events. By doing so, it serves as a sequel to Armageddon as well as a reboot for the franchise. However, unlike the original continuity, there are in fact some changes and alterations that do deviate away from the previous existing canon. One minor change right out the gate is that Baraka is in fact present during the first tournament, still fighting on the side of Outworld against Earthrealm. So events aren't too different, as Shao Kahn is on the brink of victory. Now, right out of the gate, Baraka participates in the early stages of the tournament, up against the extremely naive and arrogant Johnny Cage. Now, despite Baraka's ferocity, he is defeated by the actor, and Shang Tsung orders Johnny Cage to finish Baraka, to which Cage understandably is very confused. So he does ultimately spare the Tarkatan's life. Now, from here on out, Baraka continues to serve as an antagonist in the main story, as during Cyrax's chapter, after he bears witness to Cyrax talking with Raiden, he believes that the Lin Kuei ninja may possibly betray them, so they ambush him on the pit. But despite the numbers game, Baraka is defeated once again. Now he can be seen during the end of the first tournament, where Goro and Shang Tsung have been defeated by Liu Kang, and they ultimately do return back to Outworld with their tail between their legs. But it's not over quite yet, and understandably the Emperor is extremely displeased with Shang Tsung, and thus nearly does have him executed till the Sorcerer puts together a scheme. Now much like the original continuity, Earthrealm is lured into Outworld once again, and we get to see the full-scale assault on the Wuxi Academy, as well as Sonya Blade being kidnapped. Now after this attack, many members of the Wuxi Academy are kidnapped, being transported around Outworld's docks. But before he is able to complete his mission, he and Devourer would be attacked by Raiden, Liu Kang and Kung Lao, who were attempting to save the hostages. Now Baraka does take on the likes of Raiden, but the god proves to be far too much for him, and he is defeated. Now from here on out, Baraka plays a rather passive role in the story, only being an obstacle for the Earthrealm defenders, being defeated by Jax, and later on Jay, when he's supposed to be guarding Kitana. But after Shao Kahn has been revived, Baraka and his Tarkatan horde are part of the massive assault on Earthrealm, killing and consuming anyone in his way. However, much like the second tournament, Shao Kahn would be defeated, and this is where things slightly change in the continuity. You see, after the events of Mortal Kombat 9, the fallen elder god Shinnok rises once more and wages a massive battle across the realm. However, in this timeline and continuity, he is predominantly focusing on Earthrealm as he wishes to corrupt the Jinsei Chamber, the life force of Earthrealm. So due to Outworld not really being affected, they somewhat have to deal with their own affairs, such as who will become Khan. Now understandably, due to her relationship with Shao Kahn, Melina immediately picks up the mantle and asserts Baraka and his Tarkatan horde as her predominant enforcers. But the one big massive difference between Melina and Shao Kahn is that Melina was not a good ruler, enforcing harsh and cruel laws and really creating a massive rift in Outworld. So because of this, rebellions would start to grow in Outworld, one that would be led by the Oztec known as Kotal Khan, as he knew that Melina was not taking Outworld in the right direction. Now as Kotal was plotting, Melina, Baraka and a small squadron of Tarkatans would ambush Kotal, who was in a meeting with Reptile and Devourer, and as you would expect, a fight would break out, with Baraka taking on the likes of Devourer. Now unfortunately for him here, he does come up short in this battle and is killed by the Chitin, but this isn't quite the end of Baraka. Mortal Kombat 11. Now Baraka does resurface in this game. You see, a massive aspect of 11's story is time travel, when the Titan known as Kronika grows tired of Raiden meddling with the timeline and wishes to restart it all in her vision. However, due to MK11 taking place about 25 to 30 years after the events of MK9, many have seemingly perished, and because of this, it forces her to merge two different timelines together, that's being the present of MK11 and the fighters that were present in the MK2 section of MK9. So because of the merge of the two different timelines, Baraka is brought forth to the present. Now understandably, when they all arrive in the Outworld Coliseum, they are extremely confused. Kotal Khan in power, Outworld in the hands of someone else. So because of what Shao saw, a fight would break out, with the entire Coliseum being consumed in combat. Now eventually, Baraka comes face to face with Kotal, and the Oztec openly shows his disdain towards Tarkatans. Now as expected, the two would fight, and Baraka would be defeated. But before he could be killed, with assistance from Devourer, they are rescued by the Chitin. Upon being brought to Devourer's hive, it's here where they get their answers and learn about Kronika's plan to reset the universe. Now although Shao Kahn seems wary at first, he does accept Kronika's offer, and because Baraka is still working for the Emperor, he chooses to remain loyal. Now whilst Kronika is readying her hourglass of time, Baraka and his allies take shelter in a Tarkatan camp, as it will serve as their temporary base until they can get hold of Outworld's Coliseum. But it's not long before they are quickly tracked down by Jade and Kotal Khan. Fortunately for them, infighting does break out between Jade and Kotal, and Shao Kahn's forces capture them, but their absence is noticed, and it isn't long before the camp is stormed by Kung Lao, Liu Kang and Kitana. Now when Baraka is confronted by Kitana, the princess approaches him and tells him of her plan. You see, she is well aware that Baraka does not like answering to Shao Kahn. A majority of races that are placed under him are only ever put in that position because their home has been conquered. So she offers Baraka the opportunity to join her side, so that together they can defeat Shao Kahn and unite Outworld, where everyone can live with equal opportunity and respect. Now although Baraka is rather hesitant at first, he does ultimately want want to do what is best for his people, and does side with the princess. So once Shiva is able to assemble her army, and Baraka is able to assemble his Tarkatan horde, they storm Shao Kahn's location at the Outworld Colosseum, and quickly defeat him and his forces. Now this brings us up to Baraka's final appearance in the current timeline, where he can be seen storming Kronika's keep in the Netherrealm, but due to Kronika being successful in her mission, and seemingly resetting the entire timeline, we don't really know what will happen to Baraka in the next game, so his fate as of right now is left unknown. But the universe being reimagined in the vision of Kitana and Liu Kang, just about anything is possible. That is it for the history of Baraka. I hope you have enjoyed this video and learnt more by doing so. I'm well aware that Baraka is in fact a fan favourite, so I hope this gets you all up to date with what exactly has been going on with him here, and what we may possibly see from him in the future. But until then, I guess we just have to be patient. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to say here. And before this video does wrap up, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes. It's honestly the best way of supporting this channel, and if you want to go that extra step, please do tick that bell and subscribe, as it will notify you when I do upload more content. I do apologise for taking a rather long break from making these, but I was sensing some fatigue, and I definitely didn't want to half-ass any content I was giving to you, especially when it's an episode like this. So, as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.